Good morning, everybody. I thought I'd make something clear. The reasons for going to that meeting at the end of November was to talk about the Citizens Covenant Group, how to best proceed in the United States Attorney Book manner that would allow us to refile all the cases of the filing cadre. We needed a second state. We wanted to go about doing that the right way. We needed advice from him since he said he was in favor, back in July, that he was in favor of this process on the microcosm that showed an example of jurisprudence, and he boasted that, Family Fed didn't have this type of due process or this opportunity for you know, patrons or citizens or children of God to, have cases heard in this way. So, again, I went there thinking that this in some way helped his cause too, and I thought it was a win-win that we worked together in doing this. I had said to the Citizens Covenant group that I was going there and that I had sought to have a meeting with him over that. So that's one reason why I went there. Second reason why I went there was to tell them that 2 days ago, my wife and I decided not to go to the church anymore. And another reason from their side was for them to put us on this probation. So when I got there, the first order of business that was handled was the probation. So I had kept in chamber, locked and loaded, my revelation to them that we weren't coming to the church anymore. So towards the end of the 5 hours, I talked about that. If I'm not mistaken, that was the right order. They got to air their issues first. So as they were telling me that they couldn't have our family as a family that they married into, they were already taking away the impetus or reason for me to bring up the desires of the Citizens Covenant group, because they had already, as part of their excuse for not wanting the match, they had equated us with Utopia Moon. And they said that they would never marry into the Utopia Moon group. And I said, why? What's wrong with the Utopia Moon group? And they said, not too much, but they're so anti able figure that they're hard to work with or something like that. And I thought that was neither here nor there, because I was like, well, we're not like Utopia Moon. And Yana would say, "You say that now, but you'll turn into." I said, "I don't want to start a splinter group." And she said, "Yeah, you say that now, but you will." And I chuckled just like I'm chuckling now. It's like, I've been so anti-church for so long. I'm so clear about why I'm anti-church. It's Father who initiated my anti-churchness inside this movement. Jesus related with me in a much more clear way before I joined the church that I didn't join any Christian churches. So I've had such good results in my life from being unchurched. So I'm like, how's this woman so sure that I'm going to start a splinter group? I'm like, no, this assertion comes because something else gave her this feeling. So she starts to talk about how, her dad was, I guess, manipulated by the opportunity to have a daughter who was in the true family, and he made a bunch of promises to people about being able to get things done politically in the church because of who his daughter is, and he made a big mess of it and this kind of stuff. So she watched that kind of thing happen, I suppose, and that's why she thought, oh yeah, it's going to happen to you too. But I just assured her that it's not going to happen. And then I said to, I remember saying to Hyunjin, I was like, you trust me? And Hyunjin, he looked at me like, no, I don't trust you. And I'm like, oh, okay. And then she jumps in and she says, but it's not like it's not like we trust those other guys that much either. Doug and Jerry and all those guys. So this is how I started to understand that the people weaving an alternate narrative about my motives were Doug and those guys. So my foe, or the competing narrative of what I'm up to, is coming from somewhere. So they don't completely trust what I'm telling them I'm up to. And Yana doesn't completely trust. She said that they don't completely trust the other source of the other narrative. So I pity them. I pity them because that would mean they're surrounded by advisors that they don't completely trust. Okay? Mind you, you can't. That's for me. That's neither here nor there. I figured I'd talk about it because, when this is all said and done, I just want Hyunjin to get back to his original mandate, and you know, this is sort of like a pre-forgiveness. I mean, like whatever he did, I understand the pressures that he was under. I understand that, he has his weakness. Okay, he he's concerned or worried. That's a nice way to say it, about what his friends are going to think and feel, and he's worried about his brother's reaction to, in many ways, his true opinion. So he silences himself. He self-censored himself early in the 4 years that I was hanging out with them. I was hanging out with them for around 3 or 4 years. I could see that he had the senses of fourth Adam. He had the senses of decentralization. He spoke the words of decentralization. But as I told you, Kukjin saw him as a guy on the upper tier wearing a crown, and nobody else wears crowns. That's why Kukjin doesn't wear a crown. Again, I'm going to tell you, I asked Kukjin, what do you think about this crowns initiative that came out in early 2017? And he said, I think my brother's just afraid to be the one to wear the crown. So he like he wants company. But so Kukjin thinks Hyunjin's the only one that should be wearing a crown. Even though the three kingships is talked about in the Cheongsangyeong, that the third king is us. You, me, that so that we could grasp the fact that we are in the line, that there was God, true parents, and us. That's what three great kingships means. This is a realization about our identity. So instead of us being encouraged to see ourselves as royalty in that sense, which is what Hyunjin's Crowns initiative, his project, I like to think that that's what that was about. Kukjin doesn't like to think that that's what that's about. So in a sense, like I said, there was a battle in the first 3 years that I feel like Kukjin won, because Hyunjin towards the end became pretty absolute. He representing an absolute monarchy. So we're going backwards in history, because feudalism, and absolute monarchies, the Protestant Reformation was to dismantle that. So he went from absolute monarchy to pretty much Protestantism, right? So the era of kings and lords, and even the divine principle says that the Catholic Church, that the leaders of the Catholic Church were actually nothing more than feudal lords. So, boy, we're going backwards. Anyway, he said that he didn't trust me, and his wife asserted me that don't worry, because she doesn't completely trust them either. I still pitied them, because it didn't seem like they had the conviction enough to how do you say this? When you're having a realization about the era of fourth Adam, the era of decentralization, you're going to find Father's words that say the church sign should come down in 1997. You're going to find Father saying stuff like, you should bless people no matter what anybody says. You'll find Father saying, you're in the position of the third creator. You have the awesome responsibility of the serious responsibility of true parents. You'll find Father say, you are the ultimate one. You'll find Father say all these things that mean that you have reached in 2003. You have reached, that all Blessed Central families have reached the level of true parents, which is the level beyond the archangels. Okay, so you'll find those things, but the minute you share those things with people who hold power, they start to dismantle the confidence that Father's own words gave you. I've been through this so many times, because my first speech that I sat in Belvedere listening to was that May 1st speech, 1997, where Father's talking about the church sign coming down. My second speech, where he was talking about the cosmic era of blessed families, that was May 4th, 1997. So these were my first impressions of the movement. I had to find out that my leaders didn't gel with these ideas, and I'm like, I was touched in my heart by this new day, or this family federation concept, this cosmic era of blessed families concept, and nobody was on board to actually do it. It was a desire to conduct business as usual, and then the principal told me that at the end of, I think it was page 207, 208 of the Exposition of Divine Principle, the 1996 version, it says that People who volunteer for the new age are often martyred as victims of the old age. So I used to be so-called spiritually sensitive, high standard new member until these things happened because I wouldn't stop questioning them. And I know what that's about. You have this burgeoning inspiration. You can see an entire way the world is going to be. And then the people who are talking against it, the old era people who they create this like wall of reality that causes you to doubt yourself. It's an alternate reality or an alternate view. And there's so many of them at the outset of the new age. And there's so few of you. And there's so few people that, but the thing about it is the new age grows amidst the ashes of the old. So we can see that the old is on decline. No new members. Even blessed children are leaving frustrated. Some just leave because they want to experience, carnal, have carnal experiences and want to drink and soil their sexual organs. But many of them, they don't like their parents not focusing on their relationship and not focusing on the parent-child relationship, developing it, investing in it. So many of them say, "Oh, this is bullshit." Especially if they hear the latter words of Father about family federation or about absolute sex or about just as I was inspired by Father's latter words, you are horrified by the church's unwillingness to practice an era or practice a system that takes care of those things. So why am I saying this? I'm saying this because when I said to Hyungjin, "You trust me," he had sent me to the he had put me in charge of all the young adults, and we went down to Florida on a DP road trip. He he had taken my advice about the 3-day ceremony for first and second gen matchings. Me and Robert had to sit down with him about that. He did go to bat for me in many instances where people didn't understand my motives, and he explained that. I had heard from Miho that he wanted me in the meetings, their Secret Thursday meetings. So I knew what it was that he wanted assistance with. He wanted assistance with my way of thinking. I don't want to take credit for my way of thinking. It's the way of thinking of liberated people in the fourth Adam's realm. It's not my thinking. The minute you have this realization, this epiphany about which realm we're in, your mind starts to piece it together. Just like I've heard so many stories of people who understand the fourth Adam's realm. So for him, he was on he wanted help to explain from a just different point of view. And the only people that there were around Hyungjin who understood that point of view, that were around Hyungjin, were me and Robert. Now, I think Robert's a weird guy, and the way he handles his family is weird, and this kind of thing. But I forgave that because he understood the essence of how the Shahakwa family camp was created. It was created in a decentralized way. So through my study of Father's words, but through his experience of this decentralization over the last 23, 24, 25 years, he was able to give a view of the way we should work together in this era. He was able to assist me and I him in the way that we advised Hyungjin about, what's possible in this era. And it's all through decentralization. None of it is through decree and orders and this type of monarchic top-down thing. So when he said that he did it, when I said to him, "You trust me," it's because I know that he had relied on me in some of those instances. I remember when he was about to move into Kukjin's house. Me and Robert approached him and said, "This is not you. You're chasing Father. You're not into this type of thing. This is." I'll cut that short. But he understood what we were talking about. He had called me in. Anyway, so he understood what we were talking about, and I said to him, if you're going to use this moving into this bigger house, I said, well, you should pay attention to the fact that all these people, all these brothers and sisters, are apprehensive about taking on their mantle. We were told that we need to be tribal messiahs, and people are really shy, to say the least, about taking on tribal messiahship. I said, as you take on what you feel Father has said to you, you could talk to us about us taking on what Father has given us. So a couple of days later, or a couple of weeks later, when he's having his opening ceremony moving into Kukjin's house, he says that Father impressed upon him that, we should all wear crowns or something like that. So, that was totally in lockstep with my comment. This is why I had a feeling that he did trust me, although anytime I really talk to him, it's not formal. It's not really planned. It's sort of like always emergency, and whatever time I can steal away from his schedule. I'm not like one of these people in the Thursday meeting. I remember one time he called me in when they were picking out a crown, and you know, I said, why don't you have some kind of earth or garden theme? And he went with that, you know, because why? Because he's the guy who back then simple things were good enough for him, you know. So I did feel that, you know, he had a lot of a measure of respect for me, which is, you know, but his respect for me, I don't live and die and get up in the morning because of that. I get up in the morning because God is really good, and I just want people to have what it is that I got. And it's not just that Father gave me the blessing like he did so many people. It's that through reading Father's speech, I came into an understanding of what it means that he gave me his daughter, and I started to live this filled life where I don't take the bait from archangels, and I don't get my priorities twisted, and I'm able to dominate the pushes and the campaigns, and you know, whatever the church is pushing for, whatever their collectivist goal is for the masses of church members. I'm able to like put that in its place and never lose sight that whatever we're fighting for could only at best be second best. Okay, because as blessed people, we already possess the best, and we're responsible. Your spouse has a value to the cosmos. So I wasn't hurt when they said we don't. He doesn't trust me. And the pause that he gave, I think, came from whatever dossier that nut job put on his desk way back in January 2017. That nut job who was helped by Jerry Hyena and Lourdes Schwartz, and that gay guy who went to an orgy just to find out that he's not gay. These weird people have made an alternate narrative of me. They don't understand why I'm free to curse at people who step over the line. Anyway, I'm a rough guy. I understand that. But still, when you talk to me, I always sing the same song, and I don't deviate from that. And that in and of itself, if you don't find it to be trustworthy, I mean, I'm going to feel like, well, then you have a problem because I've been singing the same tune. So anyway, that's how I felt. I felt like, oh, okay, well, it'll just take some more time for you to realize that, you know, I'm not a bad person, and, you know, I don't hate those people that I cursed at, and I want the best for them, including Lourdes, and you'll find that out as time goes on, because any chance I got, I didn't sue her to have her job taken away from her. That right there should show that, you know, I'm just tough. I'm not hateful. Lourdes and those guys were hateful, though. I mean, they struck at the most sensitive, most important thing. I don't even know how they thought. They're so ignorant. Like, I would never invite myself to criticize the idea of somebody else's matching. Okay? If you have your reasons to match with somebody, those are your reasons. But I could advise you about what you're getting yourself into. Now, if they thought that they were advising him about what he was getting himself into, okay. But if they thought, you know, I don't know what they thought. I do know that Lourdes trying to get somebody to, you know, report on something that I didn't say about how I'm going to take over everything when my daughter's in the true family. Like, I thought that was, well, above and beyond manipulation. I thought it was a form of groping, spiritual groping, actually. So anyway, I'm fine with all of that. I quickly come to terms with all of that because of my priorities, and even I had to struggle through a little bit the idea that being matched in the Father's family is not equivalent to a higher form of salvation, which some people treat it like it is. You know, that temptation was, okay, I'm going to surrender to this monarchy. I'm going to abandon the idea of fourth Adam. I'm going to abandon the liberation. I'm going to abandon the realm of autonomy, Chajuguk, so that my daughter can be in the true family. And I know people that are married in with the true family. It's not a freaking piece of cake. It's not like True Father's children actually know the principle. Okay? So it's not like she's going to be in heaven, or your son or your daughter is going to be in heaven. Your son or daughter is going to have to deal with whatever craziness that particular true child lives according to. And we've seen that. So, and the people around them are going to be pushing them to obey, obey, obey. You didn't obey what Injun said. You didn't obey what Cookson said. Oh, you didn't. And it's going to be like a relentless thing, pushing her into a slave role. So anyway, that was that. So after we talked about that topic, about me leaving and them not trusting, the matching I was involved in, and this kind of thing, I realized that I still had to tell them that I'm leaving the church. I'm realizing that this matching, it may not work, but I'm going to take a stand for supporting him as my brother. And this is what I was gearing up for. And so I told them towards the end of the conversation, with all those things that had been talked about, and it was a 5-hour conversation. I finally, at the end, said, my family is not going to be coming to church for a while. I have to think about how to forgive these people. That's why the name of these videos is Forgive and Mitigate. I'm doing these videos because it was easy for me. Lourdes was always violating me in some way, and I'd make issue. She'd giggle, but never really she doesn't respect me, so she didn't take it seriously. But I could forgive it because I don't live with her. She's not my wife. Somebody else has to deal with her, and I'm going to keep it moving. And I pity her. So I forgave her many times. What I don't have the ability to do is forgive abuses that they do against the citizens of Chunoguk. That's what I don't have. I don't feel like I have the ability to watch what they did to me, knowing that they could easily whip out that same machine against any other citizen and not say something about it. In other words, not blow the whistle on like the deeper techniques that they'll employ, including gag order. And I swear that gag order was like, it's like at the time when they wanted to punch on me even harder, they had to keep the other people from hearing the screams. That's really what the gag order was. They ramped up their techniques as they gave me a reason to not talk about it. And so it was like, so people should understand that that's what's at the heart of the support group of Hyunjin. And but I told Hyunjin that I'm leaving to go figure out how it is that I'm going to be able to forgive these people. I said I've been a Christian who was able to forgive my enemies before I came to the church. That's what I told them. And I said I just need some time to get back to that. Well, I'll tell you this: after 2 years of not being in that church, there's no way I couldn't do this video series. One, they took away my free speech, and I have to do this as a condition of defying their will. They tried to take away my ability to talk about the shit that they do. They want to do this shit. They want to be anti-citizen. They want to have a secret council that writes constitutions, and they want to tell people the way it's going to be, and they want to discourage people's faith in their own citizenship, and they want to rewrite history, and they want to assault people who remember the real unfolding of history, and they want to do it. And if you get in their way, they want to pull out a media machine represented by Lourdes to marginalize you. And then if you had enough strength to, endure that like me, then they want to ultimately even turn your family and friends against you. Because they did all of that. That's really what I'm saying. If you don't believe that they did that, I'm totally okay with you finding out for yourself. Most of you will not find out for yourself because most of you see from a mile away that certain free behaviors that you could conduct are going to get you in some kind of trouble. So you'll never do it because I don't want to. You're cowards, okay? You're coward. Your inner coward has you turn and run the other way instantly, and so fast that you don't even register that trouble was on the horizon for you. So instead of examining that trouble, whether it was principled or not, you turn and figure out a rationale to go the other way. And these guys know that most of you are like that. But they still hold in chamber, in case any of you are courageous, like me, that they have deeper tactics. And make no mistake about it, even, I'm a person that went to bat for your tribal messiahship. That's why I was one of the first people to wear a crown, because I'd already had a sense of who I am. And Hyunjin, back then he was like, shut up, just do it. So I was like one of the first people, me and Lowell's couple, to actually wear a crown in public. So, I take the stand for you guys, okay? Because I already live in freedom. I already live in freedom. So the only way that I could forgive these people and move on with my life is after I fulfill my responsibility to tell you what they're doing. It's just that simple. I couldn't move on because it's like me finding a snake in a barn and watching other people go in the barn and me not tell you that there's a snake in the barn. It's just totally wrong. It's totally wrong. So I'm supposed to tell you that there's a snake in the barn. I'm not supposed to forgive the snake for scaring the crap out of me and then get on with my life. I'm supposed to tell you that there's a snake in the barn and then get on with my life, okay? You know, resentment means that you wish to prosecute a form of correction, okay? And you won't let go of the idea that you're going to change things and put them right, quote unquote, right. You know, you're going to right a wrong if it's the last thing that you do. Now, I don't pretend to have any power over Lourdes or Deputy Doug, Jerry Hyena, or Richard, or Hyungjin, or Cookjin, or Yana. But there's something way bigger than them. It's called the era of Fourth Adam, and they're not going to be able to stop it. So it's just how much blood is going to be on their hands before Providence stops them. Because you're taking a stand for an era that's dead. If you're taking a stand for business as usual, if you're taking a stand for a monarchy when it's the cosmic era of blessed families, Spirit World's not going to help you. So I am totally okay for them to go down the road and get what Spirit World has in store for them. But anyway, these were the things I tried to fulfill in that 5-hour conversation, to tell him why I was leaving the church, and to, we never got about to talking deeply about Citizens Covenant because they never trusted that I wasn't going to create a Utopia Moon group. So he never gave me advice on how to best set up that alternate state. That prospect of an alternate state was just evidence against why they shouldn't intermarry with my family. So that's what happened there. Can't think of anything else. Oh, I did ask, why did you have me tell my daughter a week ago about the matching? She wouldn't have even known. So a week ago, you tell me to tell my daughter at the end of October, and right here, the first or second Monday of November, you're telling me I'm on probation. And Yana put her head down, low, low, low in her lap. And Hyungjin looked over at me from his desk, and he said, "That's a good question." And he chinned, he pointed towards his wife with his chin. He was like, in other words, I'm doing this because of her. So that was a thunderous moment, because wouldn't any of you prefer that the child not know what was possible? I mean, it would have been better that she not know that she was even being considered for this honor, and then to have it taken away. If I were to set those chain of events up on purpose, I would think that in order to cause Jamal maximum pain, let's have him tell his daughter, so that his daughter will know that she missed an opportunity because of his behavior. And then we will plant within his house, this shit never worked anyway, but within his house, a foe. So that's it. That's if the timing was done on purpose. But judging from the way Yana put her head so low, and the way Hyungjin said, "Yeah, that's a good question," I like to think that they didn't plan it that way. Okay, they just told me to tell my daughter. They told her son, and then they told the crew on their Thursday meeting, and the crew erupted. It could even be that Hyungjin and them had no idea, I'm not really sure, how much bloodlust they felt towards trying to pin me down, those other guys. And so when they found out that their target was going to be intermarried with Hyungjin's family, they lost their fucking minds. That's what I think happened. And just like Tim was able to knock Hyungjin off the idea that the kingdom is here way back in January, they were able to knock Hyunjin off. Oh, you know one thing Hyunjin said? He said that when he pressed back against them, he told them, I told them you're really good with understanding absolute sex. I told them you're really good with understanding lineage issues, and they don't care. And my comment to him was like, why do you care that they don't care? They're completely ignorant. They just do their jobs. One of these guys is a security guy who punches on a CNC, punches a coordinates into a CNC computer all day long, and you know, the other guy walks around telling people that if his boss told him to kill somebody, he'd kill somebody, and these people are just tools. I mean, they're not deep. I mean, the one person who you should expect to understand deeper things about lineage, Richard, he doesn't. I worked with him for 10 years. He understands physical abstinence, like not putting your physical penis into a physical vagina for different medical reasons and even psychological reasons. But in terms of the spiritual, he doesn't understand those things deeply. Believe me. Because anytime he had the opportunity to entertain those thoughts, he backs away from those conversations for 10 years. So I'm not trying to take away the fact that he promoted abstinence, but he doesn't understand what abstinence means in the God realm. So maybe he does now more because Hyunjin pushes those things too. But Hyunjin tried to say to them, Jamal is good with these critical issues, right? And they told him that they don't care. So two scandals there. The people leading, the internal leaders of the movement don't care about lineage and absolute sex as much as keeping people in line, okay? And the other news flash is Hyunjin cares too much about what those fools think to keep absolute sex and lineage clear people around him. So he basically let them commit various assaults against me, but he didn't press or reprimand them. So I guess it's because there's more of them than there is of me, and it's just a numbers game. So he sided with, you know, the larger group. I mean, that's my guess, because I know he kind of knows better. He used to say that this is not about religion but relationship, and Father came to him in a dream and said, Chote sung, and these fools don't understand that, and he sides with them because there's more of them. I don't know. But these are some of the things that came out in that 5-hour conversation. All right, talk to you later.